Hey guys, it's Tricky Nick here. When Nintendo Switch Sports was revealed recently, I initially had a really positive outlook on the game. The Wii Sports series was always one that casual and hardcore gamers alike could pick up and enjoy together. You, your uncle, grandpa, and Vladimir Dukanazov could all get along with a good game of bowling and have tons of fun along the way. It's a franchise that I've always held near and dear to my heart for its ability to bring family and friends together time and time again. So news of a new game for the Nintendo Switch had me over the moon. But as more and more information was revealed about the new Nintendo Switch Sports, the cracks began to show. So today, I wanted to shed some light on some of these issues that I noticed about Nintendo Switch Sports. Now, this game certainly doesn't anger or upset me a whole ton, but there are some glaring issues with the game that need to be addressed. In fact, I fully intend on still getting this game, at least when it's fully finished. More on that later. So without further ado, let's talk about why Nintendo Switch Sports is concerning to me. The new style. Now, I know the new characters known as Sportsmates aren't nearly as bad looking as Salacious B. Crumb, but it's kind of perplexing why Nintendo added them. One of the staples of the Wii Sports franchise was that you were able to use your own custom Mii as a playable character in the game. It's really fun to be able to create your own characters in the Mii style, and basically their entire purpose is to be used in games as customizable characters. But despite Nintendo doing things like adding a new editor for Mii characters in Miitopia just last year, it seems they've shunned Miis in Nintendo Switch Sports. These new Sportsmates are so generic, and it makes the game kind of feel like just another sports compilation, rather than one with some Nintendo charm. They kind of look like if Animal Crossing characters were bred with normal humans to create a biological abomination. But as I mentioned before, luckily the Miis are still an option in the game, so how do they look? Oh boy, moving on. Wuhu Island is gone. While it wasn't initially in Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort quickly established Wuhu Island as the place for all things Mii related. So to see it gone is really disappointing. It made things like Pilot Wings, Super Smash Bros, and Wii Sports all feel interconnected with each other, but sadly we no longer have that, as this new Nintendo Switch Sports game seems to take place on a generic sports complex. The tropical theme of Wuhu Island was iconic, so why did Nintendo opt to do this? While it may look pretty interesting, it certainly lacks the Nintendo charm I've come to know and love. It went from Wuhu to PU. There are only 6 available sports at launch. So what do we have here? Volleyball, badminton, bowling, soccer, chambara, and tennis. Well, tennis and badminton are kind of the same thing, so I honestly don't think both are fully necessary. Also, the current state of the soccer sport makes it so that you can't play matches with the leg strap until a content update comes out. As for the rest of the sports, they all seem like they'll be at the very least a faithful recreation that will provide good fun. But is it worth the price at launch? Okay, so $40 or $50 if you buy the physical copy with the leg strap isn't an awful deal in terms of games in general. Although Wii Sports did have 5 sports and it was bundled in with the Wii, so... But when looking at the content offered at launch, it seems pretty steep considering that multiple sports won't be fully playable at this time. Keep in mind the keywords there are at launch. Later in the game's lifespan, everything should be fully up and running. Well, hopefully it finds success just like Ring Fit Adventure did despite the somewhat steep price of the game. And quite possibly the most concerning part of this video, free update content. So like I stated earlier in this video, the price of this game seems pretty steep for what's being offered initially. But when I saw that golf and fully functional soccer wouldn't be available for months after the game's launch, it was definitely one of the worst parts about this game. Golf is one of my favorite games in these sports collections, so to be unable to play it when the game releases is a total bummer. Also, you know how I mentioned that the leg strap will be bundled in with physical copies of Nintendo Switch Sports? Well, it's gonna be nothing but a useless piece of plastic until the content updates release in the fall. This ideology will never make sense to me. Releasing a game after it truly releases is just plain dumb. This is easily the worst part about Nintendo Switch Sports, and the biggest reason I won't be picking this game up until it's actually finished. I'm personally against Nintendo doing content updates like this, because it not only kills off the player base pretty early, like for example with Mario Golf Super Rush, but it also makes the game really boring at launch. Also, why did no one tell me Wiggler got added to Mario Golf? This is incredible, and it only further proves my point that free content updates that release months after the launch are as useful as my appendix. So rather than ending this video off on a negative note, I thought I would end this off with some positive things about Nintendo Switch Sports. For starters, I'm super happy this franchise is returning. I have some great memories with the sports games on the Wii, and I still have a bunch of accessories that I used with my family to play. Also, the incorporation of motion controls is a very welcome addition, and it utilizes the Joy-Cons well. I'm really excited to try these controls out for myself. Unfortunately, the rest of my praises of this game aren't going to be available until the free content update in fall 2022. But until then, I recommend playing Wii Sports, as it's bundled in with the Wii at launch, so you probably have it already. Unless you were born after the Wii or don't own a Wii, then that kind of sucks for you, but honestly, if you can play that for free, maybe even just skip out on Nintendo Switch Sports. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Let me know what you think of Nintendo Switch Sports in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.